All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Beyond the Mat WWE podcast. We're reviewing the March 28th, 2022 episode of WrestleMania Raw located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania tonight. We got Brad on the line. He's going to talk with us a little bit about tonight's episode. Brad, how you doing? You want to introduce yourself?
Hey, Matt. Great to speak with you again.
Good to talk to you too, buddy. How you been?
Good. This is a very eventful episode. Very eventful. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
And don't forget, this is a call-in show, right? So people can call in if you're listening. And Matt, why don't you give out that number?
So our call-in number is 1484-888-5378. You can call in anytime. Also on YouTube, if you want to leave a comment, we'll talk about it on air. You can also tweet us at BeyondMattWWE or email us at BeyondTheMattWWE@gmail.com. Like I said, like you were saying, a lot of events tonight, very eventful. They did advance a lot of storylines. They kind of gave me what I wanted. After seeing Brock and Roman go at it for a couple of weeks, just in these promos and Brock tearing apart cars, or having to advance the storyline without them making contact, it just seemed like we were seeing the same thing over and over again. We were seeing Roman confident, and then we were seeing Roman cower when Brock came around. But tonight he was portrayed differently, and I really liked the contrast between Brock and Roman segments. You had Brock out there being very flippant about everything, and then you have Roman out there being very serious and, telling the crowd if they want him again, he's going to beat the hell out of them or smash them or whatever he likes to say. And I thought that attitude out of Roman was something that we needed. The feud needed it, and I think it worked. And the rest of when you go down the line here, we get into the Miz and Rey Mysterio. It's hard to care about that one for me, but the mask, them getting the mask back, and everything that happened there, we'll get into that. But what do you think overall about the progress of the feuds heading into WrestleMania? Do you think they did enough?
Well,
was there things that
I want to give
for you that you wanted?
Yeah, all the progress was great, but there was a couple interesting things that I just wanted to note. First of all, at the beginning of the show, there was a promo where they were rehashing what happened with Roman on SmackDown on Friday night and Brock. And at the end of SmackDown on Friday, if you notice, Roman said, "You will acknowledge me as the undisputed WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion." I think that was the exact verbiage. Now, tonight, they cut and edited a portion of that. Roman said the same thing. "Brock, you will acknowledge me as the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion." There was some difference in the way. Go back and watch it. I don't know if you caught that, Matt. It was really interesting. They cut out a few of the words that Roman used. It was almost as if, my point is, it was almost as if the belt that they will keep will be the Universal Championship, and it will not be called the WWE Universal Championship. It will just be called the Undisputed Universal Champion.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah, what I think happened there was he forgot his line, or just
no. It was a cut, Matt. It was a cut from that same exact promo. They just edited it.
Right, but I'm saying what he said on SmackDown, he fucked up, and then they fixed it to whatever they wanted it to be when they cut it.
Understood. Okay.
Which is
yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Think about Ronda the other night when she's talking about the SmackDown Women's Championship, and she botched that line somehow, and then was like, "I should just call it the SmackDown Championship. Why should I say Women's?" She ad-libbed all that because she fucked her lines up. So I just think that, that was the last segment of the night after all that stuff. And, you know, maybe the adrenaline or something like that led to Roman having a situation where he just slipped up on his lines. You know, that happens.
Well, listen, listen. What I think also was really interesting was at the beginning.
What'd you say they called it?
They called it initially the undisputed WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion, and tonight it was called the undisputed Universal Champion.
Yeah, I think Roman was.
I don't mind it.
Whatever it is, it's going to be what it is. What's more important to me is what they do with it. I don't give a fuck what they call it. You know what I mean?
Well, the only reason why it matters, though, is because if it's the Universal or the WWE, which is the one that they're keeping, that's the only reason why it matters to me. And I think they should keep the Universal. Honestly, I know people would disagree with that.
Well, the WWE has more of a track record. It's longer last. I mean, the Universal's been around for less than 10 years. The WWE belt's been around for as long as WWE's been around. So that's why people would say, you know, if you throw away the WWE Championship belt, then you no longer can say, like, The Rock was never a Universal Champion. And if that belt's defunct, then people like The Rock, like Hogan, like Stone Cold, all these people, you know, are no longer tied to the lineage of this title that Roman Reigns is walking around with.
But Hulk Hogan, I think, was the World Heavyweight Champion, not the WWE Champion, correct?
Well, when he was in the WWF, he was the WWF World Heavyweight. That's what they called it then, the WWF World Heavyweight Champion.
Well,
I mean, the names of these titles has changed a million times. I don't think that's. I understand what you're saying. That the Universal title sounds more grand, and it sounds like, okay, the top person should be the champion of the universe, you know, whereas the next champion that we don't necessarily consider the top champion is the world champion. But at the same time, I don't know what they're doing, but I think what they should keep intact is the lineage of the WWE Championship, which whatever the hell they do, whatever they call it, even though it's kind of bullshit if you call it the Universal Championship, and because there wasn't a Universal Championship until, you know, Finn Balor was the first Universal Champion. So.
Well, also they're going to be combined, so the lineage of both just kind of stays with both. But I understand what you're saying too. Regardless, in that first segment, I thought Brock was kind of weird, man. Like, he almost seemed, and I love him, and I think he's great. And this is not a knock on him. He's incredibly great. But he seemed a little like almost shaky and anxiety-ish and timid, and just the way he was talking, and I don't know. There was something off about him. Like, he didn't seem confident. He seemed shaken. And it was just the way he was speaking. By the end, he did the whole undefeated, undisputed, whatever. The whole thing, the whole Paul Heyman line, which was great. And he sounded normal then. But throughout the promo, if you watch it back, like, you'll see, like, what I mean. Like, he seems just a little, like, not scared. And I don't know. Did you pick up on any of that?
What I felt is that he was very careless. I did sense it, and maybe it was him being in character tonight, because, like I say, on the other side of it, Reigns was presented much more confident tonight. It's hard to present Brock as not confident. Maybe he was a little bit uncomfortable doing the whole welcome to Monday Night Raw. He knew he was the first. I don't know. But he did come out. I thought he did a good job welcoming Pittsburgh to Monday Night Raw, doing the whole thing. But he did. I do know what you're saying, because there was a few times during it where it felt like he tripped over his words a little bit. And I wrote that down. It was definitely when he was talking about, like, this is a spoiler for Sunday, and I'm going to go to Suplex City, go down Broadway to the Carnival ride for F5. When he was telling that whole story, kind of wasn't making sense. And then,
no, it made no sense. Broadway, the Carnival. the F5 thing made sense.
I
He
think,
said, but that.
and then he reacted to the crowd wadding, which is annoying to begin with.
Oh, I hated that. I hated that.
I hate it when they do that too. I hated it when they did it back when they started it. But it's, crowd interactions is what it is. I did want, before we get in too deep into Raw, I wanted to mention just a couple quick news items I had from today. We saw on social media that Vince McMahon and Seth Rollins signed a contract for a match at WrestleMania. That was also shown on the show tonight. We also found out that the Steiner brothers will be inducted into the Hall of Fame as a tag team. And we found out some plans for The Rock. A tenured member of the creative team has said there's no plans for The Rock to appear in any shape or form at WrestleMania 38, but he is expected to return at Survivor Series 2022, which would mark the anniversary of his debut because he debuted at Survivor Series way back when. He's tentatively scheduled as the main event for WrestleMania 39 in Los Angeles with Roman Reigns. If that's true, then Roman is likely the winner this Sunday. But for anybody who's looking forward to seeing The Rock, that's what it looks like the plans are with him. Anything can change at any time, obviously. But back in the Raw, tonight we had Graves, Cole, and Smith on commentary. No Byron Saxton. What do you think about those three as a three-man booth?
I was just happy to see Michael Cole there, man. I enjoyed it. It looked a little awkward with all four of them sitting at the table, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I thought Cole, I like Cole. So I think that, and I think he's better than Jimmy Smith. So the more Cole you can get, less Jimmy Smith, I think it worked. So it didn't seem too clunky.
There was a few points where they were stumbling over each other, interrupting each other, all that.
Yeah.
I mean, we do it, but we're not, professional broadcasters on national TV. So,
and we don't have a producer muting one of us or telling us what to fucking say either.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But so yeah, Brock comes out. He's a little bit flippant about what's going on. He just says he's gonna have his title and Roman's title, and they're gonna marry each other and have a baby. He's gonna stand over Roman Reigns, holding both belts tall at WrestleMania, and then the crowd sings along with him as he does his Heyman impersonation. He did enter to it. I mean, when his music hit, that was a huge pop. But other than that, I'll tell you what, the times I expected the crowd to pop tonight, they didn't.
They sucked.
And there was a lot of action tonight. They weren't even going that crazy when the hair cutting shit was going on.
They didn't. I found that crowd to be the worst crowds I've ever seen on Raw or SmackDown. You can't even compare them with the crowd on SmackDown in Miami a few weeks ago. You can't compare them with the crowd in Hershey, Pennsylvania for SmackDown. You can't compare them with the crowd for Raw last week. Or they saw so much and they got such a show. And you're right. Like, even when Roman came in, they always do this thing where they pan the crowd when Roman's about to come in, so you can see everyone standing up as that music hits. That's a universal thing that they do every time. The crowd, some of them stood up, but you didn't really see the same reaction, and it was really weird. Like it's almost like they didn't even realize they were getting something so special. But meanwhile, they had the energy to do what every time everyone was speaking. And I thought they were a horrendous crowd of ingrates, to be honest with you.
Of ingrate. Well, I don't want to alienate the city of Pittsburgh for how they responded to Raw tonight, but I do think that the crowd could have, if what's the only freaking interaction you can do when you have, and I guess they interacted with Boogs a little bit, but there was just nothing behind. Didn't seem like there was much heat behind anything from the crowd. Let's move on a little bit. Brock did his thing. We both agree that he was a little bit, just didn't seem himself tonight. On the flip side of that, Roman had a promo later, but before that, we had Miz and Rey Mysterio.
And the only thing that's really worth talking about here is the Logan Paul, how he kind of just stood there while Miz was getting his ass beat. I don't understand what angle that's going to take, but that was weird, right? I mean, that was just weird.
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, there really was not much. It was a lot of the matches were pretty quick tonight. It was more about what happened before and after the match or whatever. But in this match, they come down. Ray comes in with Dominic. Dominic's into shenanigans in the beginning, gets thrown out. He's messing around with Logan Paul. They look like two clowns. Then we start out. Ray starts out. He gets a big tilt-a-whirl Hurricane Rana. Then Logan Paul lures him outside. Miz is waiting for him. Hits a DDT on Ray. We go to a break. Back from the commercial, Miz is beating down Ray on the top rope, setting up for a superplex. Ray blocks a superplex, knocks Miz with a kick to the face, takes control of the mat, goes for a whip out of the corner, but Miz reverses that. Miz is going for a power bomb here, bounces Ray off the top rope. Then Ray turns that into a victory roll for a 1-2-3 on a sunset flip. Then we see Dominic run in, attack Logan Paul. They set up for a double 619, but Logan Paul rolls out of the ring, and then this is what you're talking about. Ray gets his mask off of him, and then Dominic super kicks Miz. Ray hits a Hurricane Rana, and then they do a double. They both hit a frog splash on him, and Logan Paul is just standing there. I don't understand why Logan Paul didn't do anything there. Was he not supposed to? I don't know.
It's weird. It was just weird. But there's not much to say about it. I mean, I'm not like not looking forward to I'll watch this match happily. I think it'll, you might see something cool out of it. And you hear Logan Paul might want to join the WWE permanently or at least, somewhat regularly for a period of time, which is really interesting. And, I think that those two could have a tag team, maybe championship run in them if they do that, because they are pretty big time stars. You know what I mean? Like if Alpha Academy could win it and, maybe Boogs and Nakamura win it, why couldn't they win it? But
are you talking about the Mysterios?
No, the Miz and Logan Paul.
Well, they're not going to keep Logan Paul around to wrestle. Are you just talking about winning the match at WrestleMania?
No, I'm talking about there's been a lot of news that Logan Paul wants to stay in the WWE post WrestleMania. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe for a couple programs. I don't see them going that way with that. I don't think that's what Miz is employed for.
All right.
I agree. I think they could go somewhere with that, but and maybe that's just what I want speaking, but I don't want Miz having anything to do with the tag team championships. Got a comment here from Dorica75. I thought they were going to set up Paul to turn on Miz, but after tonight, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's what we were just talking about. They're foreshadowing something with Paul just standing there, not doing anything about Miz. And if we remember back a couple weeks ago when they were in Cleveland and Miz trashed the city, Paul was like, why'd you do that? Or at least that's what it looked like on the way out.
Yeah, that's a great point. And there's a lot going on. You could see that with Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin. You could see the turning, partners not being happy with each other type of theme going on.
Yeah. That's
a good point.
I'm not sure. Like, I would believe all about Logan Paul hanging around after WrestleMania, but is that for a short program? Is that for long term? Is he going down to the Performance Center? I just need to know more about what he's actually going to do. Is it for 2 more pay-per-views? You know what I mean?
I mean, let's not forget though. This is a guy who gets 100 million views on YouTube. Like, this is a guy who, people, whether you like it or not, like if he stays in the WWE, even just for a few months, like they might give him a championship just to boost a, kind of a notoriety. Like, who knows?
Man, what's up with these guys coming into our chat, asking one question, getting it answered, and leaving?
Who knows?
Why are they freeloading like that? They got to stay in for the whole show.
You know,
We should
people
start
pop in and
answering.
pop
We
out.
should start answering the questions at the end. That way, they have to stay.
Well, you know, listen, if they want to pop in, that's a good point. Whatever, they pop in, they pop out. Hopefully, he comes back. But
I guess he didn't like my answer. I guess he wanted me to talk about Logan Paul doing something crazy. I mean, they've been together for a week.
These people can pop in, they can pop out, and they can call in, which hopefully they know, and hopefully that'll be something people start doing. It's a lot of fun to talk live about these things when it's on your mind, and that's what we're here to do. You know, that's why, you know, we have this show, is to interact with the people that are listening. So the call-in number's there. It's on the screen. I mean, if anyone wants to call in, it's there. Let's move past this Miz thing.
Yeah, so we get the recap of what happened with Rollins today. He was summoned for a 9 a.m. meeting with Vince McMahon. He goes to the headquarters early. He's really funny in this segment. He's cackling with the receptionist. He's just annoying the hell out of her.
Not only that, but he waited there for like 2 hours. He arrived at 6:45 and it said 9:05. He got to go in.
Yeah, and he thinks he's the shit for coming around. We got another question from the same guy. What do you think they do with the Mysterios going forward? We did move on, but with the Mysterios, they should do a father-son angle at some point. I think we've all been calling for that for a long time. His question was, what do you think they do with them? Should they do a father-son angle? I think that's been something that they're going to do eventually, probably closer to when Ray's at the end of his career, which is pretty close to that now. The reason why we haven't seen that is because I don't think Dominic's quite ring ready. I think the only reason why he's on the main roster is because they can put him with Ray and he can be protected in the tag team. If he was a random single star, he would not be on the main roster. So eventually, yeah, it would be great to see them split, but I don't think it's going to come as a result of what happens at WrestleMania.
But it's weird. They're like a tag team that really never does anything tag team-ish. Like, I understand they're in a tag team match at WrestleMania, but like it always seems
they were champions before. But I know what you mean.
I know, but over the last X amount of months, like they're not in the picture with Alpha Academy.
Yeah, they've been jobbers they've been going against the Dirty Dogs and Miz and things like that. But
yeah, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. It's really not that compelling, especially after all the shit that happened tonight. I mean, it's very tough to get invested in that segment.
That might be the most, on the whole WrestleMania card, that might be the least interesting match.
Yeah, and you know, and
that should be the pre-show match for whatever freaking day it is.
Yeah, and when you saw the list of the Saturday matches, I was like, holy crap! Like, I mean, how many hours is this going to be? Like, like this thing's going to be. Like, is it going to be 5 hours? Like, it's going to go from 8 to 1 in the morning? Like,
no. That's why they're. I mean, a couple of years ago, they went from like freaking 6 o'clock until 1 in the morning and that's why they're doing 2 nights so they can get more match, obviously more money, but now what's going to happen is you're going to start the pre-show at 6. There's going to be some match somewhere between 7 and 8, and then all the matches will start at 8. It'll probably be over at 11 something Eastern.
Yeah. Well, the card on Saturday looked pretty substantial when they ran down the Saturday only at one point in the show. It just looked really a lot of stuff going on there. A lot. So irrespective of all that, the next segment obviously was the Seth Rollins thing. We find out, you know, he's got an opponent. Okay.
And he's in the office cackling with McMahon, and
he's the best,
ignoring the hell out of him. I mean, he's asking McMahon if he's fined, suspended, banned. Vince concentrating on that old school legal pad.
But you know what?
McMahon told me he was surprised he failed so many times. He said, all you got to do is ask me.
But you know what I found interesting about tonight with all of those people there and everyone, you know, there were so many superstars there and from every brand. You really missed, at least I did, you missed Seth Rollins. Like it didn't,
feel right without him there tonight. And even though like he was in that segment and whatever, like it still felt weird that he wasn't there. And it just shows you how incredibly impactful he is and interesting he is. Maybe I'm the only person who felt that way, but it just seemed like there was something missing from Raw without the guy tonight, even though he was on that site.
It was a pretty heavy episode. It felt like Seth, when he comes, he's so loose and so he gets the crowd involved, regardless if he's a heel or a face. He brings energy. It just loosens things up. I think even when they're supposed to be serious, and when you get Brock Lesnar coming out here, and then Becky trying to cut a braid off and then getting her own hair, like that's some heavy stuff compared to what we normally see. Then we'll talk about the 24/7 segment in a minute, but everything was very tense tonight. It felt like.
I agree. That's a very smart and very interesting observation, because I agree with you. Like there was not a lot of light moments. Like normally.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, normally like. Even when like Riddle comes in the ring, like there's kind of like a comedic sort of fun, like it just didn't seem like there was any fun. I don't know if that's the right word, but like, yeah, it did seem like you said, like everything was heavy.
Yeah. But I think it needed to be that way. They needed to do that. Bianca and Becky feud needed to go where it's going now. Even the backstage segments with Edge and AJ were both very, heavy, very serious, very tense, on the edge of your seat type of stuff. And I also think what played into it is that even advertised matches were pulled tonight. Becky was supposed to have a match tagging with Flair against Rousey and Bianca. That didn't happen. There was supposed to be a Street Profits and Alpha Academy match. That got pulled. Omos was not supposed to have a handicap match. McIntyre and that handicap match wasn't supposed to happen. So there was just a lot of things, I think, that were sort of serious. And I think part of the reason they did all this is they don't want to have – they had some unfinished business with these feuds, in my opinion. They didn't want to do it on this Friday's SmackDown. At least that's what I think. But
yeah, it's like too close. It's like too close. It's not enough time to do it Friday to get people talking about it between the event and obviously WrestleMania.
Yeah. So Vince tells Seth he wants to have a stupendous WrestleMania and he could do it without him, but he says that he's going to do it with Seth, that Seth needs his own main event, but in his own head. And he's going to WrestleMania. Rollins is hilarious here, the way he's reacting, everything. He's all excited. WrestleMania, here I come. Who's my opponent? And Vince tells him, your opponent will be revealed to you when you're standing in the ring at WrestleMania. So,
okay, one other thing about the word main event. I don't understand you need your own main event. I kind of don't get that, but okay, cool. But like, if you noticed, like when they went through that list of Saturday matches that I was talking about tonight, it did not show Charlotte Ronda as a main event anymore. It did before. It didn't now.
It's listed internally as KO and Austin being the main event.
Yeah, but the whole point of the Royal Rumble, and we know these things can change and whatever. I'm not like complaining about it, but the whole point of the Royal Rumble is that you get the main event of WrestleMania, and then obviously that's. And I think you know what I think, man. I think the reason for that, and I would love if someone wanted to call in who's watching and talk about this or whatever with us, but I think that the point of, or the reason why that's happening is because Ronda's performance has been so awful. I think literally that's done to say F you to her. Like, maybe not F you, but like, hey, you're not now, your performance over the last 6 weeks or 7 weeks has not been worthy of us giving you this title of main event. Sorry, Charlotte, it's Ronda's fault.
Yeah, but you also have to look at it from this standpoint. If you're WWE and you have Stone Cold Steve Austin doing whatever the fuck he's going to do in the ring, and you have people coming in to see that. You put him in at 9 o'clock or, you know, in the middle of the show. You know how many people are going to leave that stadium and not be there for whatever the main event is? Just to beat traffic or whatever on Saturday. And you know how many people, if you put it last, everybody's staying guaranteed until that's over.
You are right.
In the middle, people are going to fucking leave. And they don't want that.
No, but it's just the verbiage of it. Like, for instance, like you could have had the show closing with that, but you could have said, the main event match of the evening, Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair, and the show will close with the, you know, Stone Cold, you know, like it didn't like you don't have to take away the word main event. Like
I think
just because you're ending it with something else. Yeah, but you still could have given it that title. There's no problem with that because it's the match. We know Steve Austin isn't having a 15-minute match, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, they've had WrestleManias where they've had freaking 3 matches that they referred to as the main events. You know what I mean? Because it was just back-to-back 3 matches that you probably the one that was third to last was better than the one that went on last. You know, it's
and tonight, which prompted me to say it, is that you got another with Seth Rollins now.
Yeah, but that's not a main event caliber match. But we all know it's going to be Cody Rhodes coming out at WrestleMania. That's when he's going to make his introduction. But for Raw tonight, let's move on. We had Omos come out. We find out he's going to face the Viking Raiders in a handicap match. This one was real quick. Eric started striking away at Omos early, but it didn't really do anything. Then Omos hit him with a big clothesline, hit him real hard, knocked him out. He rolled out of the ring. He was counted out. Ivar came up on the apron. He ended up hitting him with a big boot. So he took out the Viking Raiders in about however long it takes to do a clothesline and a 10 count. Then we hear Lashley's music, and Lashley enters. And this is after Omos is standing there saying, nobody can beat me. I'm undefeated. I'm unstoppable. You know, so Lashley's music comes on. He comes out looking like a badass, like he's going to do something to Omos. Hits him. Omos no-sells it. Throws Lashley into the corner. Lashley kind of hulks up, goes after him again. Omos no-sells it, grabs Lashley by the throat, throws him into the other corner. Then Lashley hulks up even more, goes over to Omos, and he hits him. Then he runs the ropes and throws a shoulder block on Omos. Omos actually gets taken down here for like the first time ever. And Bobby Lashley looked really good doing it. And then he stands there, points at the WrestleMania sign, uses his other hand to point at Omos. And we're going to get Omos versus Lashley at WrestleMania now. Confirmed. Finally. Only been hoping for it for a while.
Yeah, this was a really cool segment. I mean, the one thing that I didn't like really understand, bro, is that like how in the world did Eric get that hurt from that clothesline where the point that he couldn't even move? Like it was.
I said the same thing, man. How weak are they making the Viking Raiders look by having them get counted out as a result of one clothesline?
Yeah, that was
what the Usos did to him and everybody else. Like they're either getting beaten up backstage, or someone's stealing their headdresses and beating them up after that, or they're losing a match in a minute and a half.
Yeah, I don't understand how he got that hurt. I mean, that was so stupid, and boy, did that make the Viking Raiders look like shit, irrelevant shit. And
they could have did more having Omos work on Ivar, because Ivar's the bigger of the two. So it's not like just because you beat up one of the tag team members, you beat both of them. Like it would have put Omos over more as a giant to beat a bigger giant like Ivar than Eric.
Right. What I thought was going to happen was Ivar walked over to him, as you saw on the outside of the ring. I thought he was going to pick him up, bring him to his corner, roll him in the ring, and just tag him. And then you could see him, face off against Ivar and then mess him up. And that would have made Omos look even more indestructible. But regardless, Lashley coming back was really cool. Loved it. How could you not like that? And the crowd was chanting, which is one of the moments where the crowd was actually good. Bobby, Bobby, Bobby. You know, no MVP, just Bobby. It was really cool.
Yeah, MVP's in the graphic for his match, so looks like co-management mania, but wasn't with him, went out there, took care of business. It's nice to see somebody put Omos on the ground. It's nice to know that Omos is going to be in a real match now with somebody else who's big and strong and can take care of him. I'm interested to see what they can make of this, if anything. I mean, listen, seeing Omos take that shoulder block from him, I was surprised. I didn't know what the hell was going to come of that whole exchange. And I was like, damn, like I jumped up off my couch when Bobby took him down.
And I thought it was great. And the other interesting thing was like just seeing the size contrast. Like Bobby's a huge guy, and seeing him, how small he was next to Omos was like really weird, man. It kind of gave you a different perspective.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Bobby's huge. We got 2 more comments here. He said Eric got that hurt, basically nothing. Talking about the clothesline.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that hurt by basically nothing. That's what we were just saying. It's ridiculous. He doesn't like watching Omos, and he hopes Lashley can make it. I think Lashley will make it a good match. Lashley's, the most capable person that we've seen Omos go against. Omos has only been going against enhancement talent and guys that are smaller than him, so he can get put over as a big, tough giant. Lashley's going to be able to take care of him. Maybe we can see 3 moves from Omos other than the choke slam and the big slap. And if he can stop the roaring and all that, then I don't have that much of a problem. If he, I like seeing 2 big guys go at it. I'm happy to see that he's got Lashley as an opponent for WrestleMania, because I think Lashley can really help him grow as an in-ring performer. You agree with that, Brad? Still there, Brad?
Yeah, I'm here. My bad.
All right. So what I was saying was that Lashley's a good opponent for Omos because he's such a good in-ring performer. He will help Omos a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is going to be one of those really short matches. This is going to be a short thing that you're going to see, and it's going to. I would be surprised if the over/under on this match was. I can't go much over 5 minutes for this match.
Right. Yeah, like I said, if Omos can get in 3 moves and we can see him take a couple bumps, that's way more than we've seen from him so far. So I think I'd be happy to see that. And the reason I say I'd be happy to see this is because I'm tired of seeing him kill enhancement talent, kill small guys on the roster, and then them have nothing for him to do. If he can work with someone like Lashley, who has some in-ring ability, has some strength, can take care of him, and he can grow as a performer and actually do something. So hopefully that happens. But let's move on. Speaking of small things, we had a small backstage segment for 24/7 folks. Reggie was back there with Dana. He said, Dana, I want to talk to you, but it seems like things always go sideways whenever we talk. Dana says, Reggie, you can talk to me about anything. Reggie gets down on one knee and says, Dana, will you? Dana says, Reggie, this is so soon. And Reggie says, we don't need to wait until WrestleMania to have a WrestleMania moment. Dana says, yes. Reggie puts a ring on her finger. Then Tamina attacks Dana. Dana and Reggie flee. Tozawa comes out of nowhere with a suit on. Tamina asks him, why are you wearing a suit? He says he heard that Reggie was proposing to Dana. He gets down on one knee, proposes to Tamina. Tamina says, picks him up by both hands, by his neck, says, what do you think? And then she says, yes. So evidently we're having Reggie marry Dana now, and Tozawa marry Tamina. And we have R-Truth in the background with a referee saying he's got a bright idea now.
Didn't understand it. Did you?
I don't understand why all of a sudden we have people getting married.
Yeah, and no one even asked each other, "Will you marry me?" I don't know. I didn't understand. I thought it was kind of entertaining or whatever. Just that was like one of those. You know, the one thing I'll say about it is it goes back to what you alluded to earlier. It was just like a lighter break that I felt like the show needed. Like,
Yeah, let
again,
me
it
up
was.
segment. You need one.
Yeah, it just was like kind of silly and stupid and gave you a laugh, and or not even a laugh, but it just, it broke up the heaviness. And I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was one of the best 24/7 belt segments that they've had in a very long time because of that.
Well, yeah, because it was short. There wasn't too much stupid crap going on. It didn't take up that much time on the show, regardless of if it didn't really make too much sense. It's not really what I'm looking for on the show. So for me, it is what it is. And like I say, it's a let me up segment. You got to have those. If you're sitting there with intense match after intense match after intense match after intense segment after intense promo, then eventually, if you don't have that let me up segment, you're sort of smothered by all that intense stuff and you don't get to feel it as much. So if you have segments like this, then the next segment that is important feels more important,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's what I think.
It was good to have that lighter segment. It's just whatever. What was after that? Where did we go?
After this one, we got Roman Reigns promo. He comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Paul Heyman and the Usos. He's dressed in red for Raw tonight.
And again, like, it didn't seem like the crowd reaction for Roman that you get everywhere else. Like, when you see the difference between when he comes in on SmackDown, it feels like an event. This just felt like not like the crowd wasn't as into it again as they should have been. Am I wrong about that? Or
no, I agree. I didn't think that I didn't feel like the crowd was that into it as they normally are. Now we have a guy here with the Pittsburgh Steelers logo in the chat. Were you at the show tonight? You from Pittsburgh? What's going on out there?
Yeah, was he in Pittsburgh? I mean, there was just something that felt like, and look, this is not something that's like, oh, like Roman got big cheers one time or big reaction one time. This is week after week after week for a freaking year and a half. Like, you get every amazing reaction no matter what city they go to when Roman comes out. It doesn't matter if it's Greenville, South Carolina, or if it's Brooklyn, New York, or if it's whatever. The crowd, everyone's out with their phones. It's like a celebrity is walking down the red carpet and people are just going berserk. And this just did not, tonight, this crowd did not react that way. Am I wrong? Like,
no, I think I that's what I didn't feel like everybody got.
You didn't get the goosebumps. You didn't get the goosebumps like you do normally when Roman comes out.
It's funny. He said he didn't get to go, but he thought all the whats were annoying. We were saying the same thing.
Yeah, we were saying the same thing. Yeah, the whats were so annoying.
Just let these guys get through their promos.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason for doing it is because, supposedly you don't like what's going on in the ring. I don't think that's why they were doing it. I just think they wanted to do something. That's what they were doing. I don't think it was like they didn't like what he was saying, because promo was freaking awesome. I mean, undeniably awesome. You could be the harshest critic of him or of WWE, and you have to say that promo was really good.
No, I thought it was great. Roman comes out here, he gives us some clarification. Commentary's putting him over on the way out, saying he's in the company of Hulk Hogan, Bruno Sammartino, and Santino Morales as far as his title reign length. But he comes out there, the crowd's doing the what thing. He says if they keep whatting him, he's going to smash everybody in the crowd, just like he's going to smash Brock Lesnar, just like he would smash Steve Austin. Everybody starts chanting Suplex City. Roman says, let's talk about Brock. What bothers him about Brock? He said Brock was after his blood. But the thing is, already 4 years ago, Brock cut him at WrestleMania in New Orleans. He said his family didn't recognize him after that match and doubted him because of that. It upsets him that Brock thinks that this is all a game and he's talking about going to the carnival and taking him for a ride. He said the tribal chief has changed the game. He will take everything from him. He says taking his blood from him. He's taking everything else, and he's going to take both of his belts, or he's going to take his belt from him and have both of them on Sunday. And he made it a lot more personal. He said he's going to make this personal. So for me, this was a lot. It made the feud feel a lot more personal. Up till this point, it was just Brock Lesnar destroying cars, two guys we've seen fight before in feud. Now Roman Reigns bringing up from the past that, 4 years ago, Brock Lesnar beat him and his family doubted him. And he has this internal desire to kick Brock's ass and to win this because he needs to prove that to himself. That's something I can get behind. And I thought that was very well executed by Roman.
Yeah, to your point, it almost seemed like one of the first times that it made sense why Roman was so angry at him in a certain way. It was tied together, in past events, and it was really good. Really good. I mean, what can you say about it? I mean, the way he ended it, you were like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, that was pretty good. And also the way he reacted to the what's, as you said, and as that guy in the chat from Pittsburgh said, it was genius. Like the way he can look, there's a lot to remember in those promos. And then in front of all these people and millions of people watching at home and thousands in the crowd to be able to shift to, yeah, and I'll smash Steve Austin too. And you better stop whatting me and and then get right back on track with your lines. Do you know how freaking hard that is to do, man? I mean, that is hard to do. That is hard to do.
That's what I think I think when Brock was out there, Brock got a little bit thrown off when he had to deal with the what's and the sort of improvising, even though I think Brock's okay on the mic anyway. That didn't feel like a normal Brock Lesnar promo. But he felt
awkward.
I thought Roman executed his well, and just the contrast between the two, Brock being so, this is a game and we're going to go for a ride, and Roman being like, this is serious, this is personal, you embarrassed me in front of my family and all that stuff. That made it the contrast between the two and seeing how serious Roman is. Because like I said, up until now, Roman's been portrayed as somebody who thinks he's a badass, but as soon as Brock's around, he's not. He's afraid. He's not unconfident. And that's not something that we're used to seeing at all.
Yeah.
Saying the difference between Roman and Brock's their promo ability, I agree.
And Mr. Doritos said also that's the difference between Roman and Brock. Right. And you just put it on the screen, so yeah.
Right. The difference, big difference between the two of them is their promo ability, their ability to command the room and talk. So Roman does not need Heyman to speak for him. Brock still kind of does.
Heyman didn't even need to be there tonight, type of thing. That's how almost irrelevant he was to this segment. He had nothing to do with it, zero.
Yeah.
But yeah, the crowd whatting, I again, it was just so freaking annoying and honestly disrespectful. You're watching, look, I'm not going to say Babe Ruth maybe, but you're watching the wrestling equivalent to maybe Mount Rushmore levels of greatness. And this guy's talking, giving one of the most meaningful promos you could ever give, before a huge, gigantic match that might be remembered for a long time. And they're just doing what? Being idiots? That was just really annoying. And I don't need to keep saying it over and over again, but it just was. I understand. Look, I understand if it's Sami Zayn out there doing something stupid with Johnny Knoxville and they're going, what? Just because it's just fun and silly. But that was not the moment to be doing it in. And that's why
they do it when anybody talks. I mean, it's been going on forever. They're all having a boner about the fact that Stone Cold Steve Austin's coming back and whatever.
Yeah, they do whatever. But how many promos do we see where they don't do it? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, they forgot about it, and that was nice. They stopped doing it. But they're doing it now, and it's annoying. But next up, we had an 8-women tag match. We had all 8 women that are in the Fatal 4-Way tag match, night 2 of WrestleMania, having them interact every single way we possibly can. We've seen 4 of them in a fatal 4-way, the other 4 not. We've seen 2 teams go against the other 2, another 2 against another 2. So we have everybody. Before the match, we got a recap of Carmella and Zelina having some dissension backstage. And then we see them bragging backstage about how they're going to win and all this stuff. And Natalya and Shayna walk up on them and say, you listen to us for this match. So going into this match, Liv and Natalya start out. Natalya goes for a double leg takedown, but Liv blocks it. It's a flying leg scissor takeover, then a backsplash into the corner. Ripley's then tagged in. They double team, hits a snapmare. Liv hits a basement drop kick. Then they tag in Naomi. Then the heels take over. They get Naomi over to the heel corner and keep doing quick tags and work over on her. Eventually, Zelina comes in and Naomi hits a jawbreaker on her. Then a bulldog into the corner. Banks gets tagged in, hits a little bit of double team on Zelina. Goes for a pinfall, gets 2, but Carmella breaks it up. Then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose with everybody. Carmella and Baszler kick Naomi. Liv takes out Baszler and Natalya. Carmella super kicks Liv. And then Vega ends up taking Banks to the outside, slamming her into the barricade. We go to a commercial. Back from the commercial. The faces are trying to pump the crowd up. Carmella's got a chin lock on Sasha. Sasha's trying to fight out of it. She's sent into the heel corner. She looks like she's in trouble, but she takes everybody down. Faces are all looking for a hot tag. Carmella's laying on the ground, but then all the heels emerge and pull them down. Naomi's still standing up there. Carmella gets Baszler into the match. Baszler takes out Naomi, so there's nobody to hot tag. So Banks is fighting with nobody to tag here. She fights back out of the heel corner. Baszler gets her in a leg submission, hanging from her neck, tags in Natalya. They hit the heart attack. But then when they go for the pin, Zelina gets Natalya off of her. So we got the heels not coinciding here. So Natalya breaks up the pin. Zelina breaks up the pin, I'm sorry. Doesn't want Natalya to win. So we saw this before the match, how they were arguing with each other. And Baszler sent to the outside by Zelina. Sasha tags in Naomi. Naomi hits a roundhouse kick, then tags in Rhea. Rhea hits the riptide on Zelina Vega for the 1-2-3. Carmella was over with Corey. This is the first time in any match with these 4 tag teams that Rhea and Liv's team, either one of them has pinned somebody. They have not won any of the matches. So now they finally got a win. So now everybody's kind of even going into their match at WrestleMania. I thought that it was good foreshadowing. It's been good foreshadowing all along. Having these different matches with these women to show what they can do in an actual WrestleMania match where they have some time to all be in there together. But you could see some kind of dissension with the heel team coming from a mile away, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and this is not a knock. Like, I didn't like this match. I didn't think it was a good match at all. I actually kind of thought it was like a boring match in a weird way. And like, honestly, like, I feel bad for Doudrop, and I don't want to say Nikki ASH, but I just think that that tag team champion duo of Zelina and Carmella are so, like, it's so unimportant that I think that what they should have done is they should have had 5 tag teams and switched it up to a battle royal, and whichever member of whatever tag team is remaining at the end is the winner, or a mini Royal Rumble or something like that, like, just to break up the monotony of match. The one thing I'll say about this WrestleMania is, other than the Sami Zayn match, there's anything goes. There's no specialty matches. It's just match. And
Right.
I understand that that's the way it goes, but you didn't need to have.
That's not normal, though. Normally, you have you'll have a cage match. You'll have, at least a couple false count anywheres, maybe a submission match, maybe a Hell in a Cell, possibly a cage match, a TLC match. I mean, there's no match.
There's no variety.
Right, there's no variety. And this would have been
changed. Listen, back in the Attitude Era, they changed shit on Sunday Night Heat right before the pay-per-view. Oh, all of a sudden it's no DQ. And that's because when they go to the arenas and they're working out the match and they're like, okay, here we go. We're going to do this. They get to the finish and they're like, all right, let's do this for the finish. And then someone's like, well, wait a minute. There's a referee. He would get counted out. He would get DQ. Okay, well, fuck it. Make it falls count anywhere. And then they had to find a way to announce that for some reason.
Yep.
And a lot of times it's just out of nowhere.
Yeah, why couldn't this have been a battle royal? Honestly, who cares? Especially the way they acted tonight made me think of that. Like, there's complete chaos. Everyone's attacking everyone. Why not do something like that? It's not like you need to pin Zelina or Carmella to prove that you're the real tag team champion at this point. Like, it doesn't matter. So
they're continuing. The way that I look at it is you pay attention to who's taking the pins and who's making the pins. So, consistently we've seen Zelina get pinned over and over again. So, to me,
I just thought the match sucked.
I mean, I didn't think it was great anyway. I don't need to see a 4-on-4 women's tag match. They have those at house shows all the time. It's like I said before this show, the card that was presented looked like a super house show card. It looked like you go to these house shows where they have both brands there and they have a bunch of Survivor Series type matches and a bunch of tag team matches that you wouldn't normally see, like Lynch and Flair versus whichever two baby faces are available. And that was what was going to happen, except Rousey is evidently injured, so she couldn't participate in it. But at the end of the day, I would much rather them had just not dealt with this match. We've seen it's like the point is they have this match to see these women interact, right? To show us what these women can do, to get them familiar with each other in the ring. And we've seen it now enough times. We did not need, it doesn't make sense to have a 4-on-4. In a week, they're fighting against each other. Why would Banks and Naomi want to be on the same team as Ripley and Morgan?
Right. Doesn't make any sense.
Pin one of them in a week. That's what I don't care for. Had they done the exact same thing on SmackDown, but flipped it and had the other 4 women do a fatal 4-way, I would have been so much more invested in it than a 4-on-4 tag match where it's just because even to get, I mean, like I said before the one break, just everybody just jumped out and super kicked everybody, and then it was just it's very hard to. I mean, did Liv Morgan do anything in this match besides start out?
No, she started and that was it. There was one point where Rhea went to tag in Liv Morgan and Naomi kind of got in between them, and she tagged her. She kind of tagged Rhea instead, and they were kind of like, "What?" And that was it. That was the only evidence that the Sasha team wasn't working well together.
Right. I didn't even really. I saw that, but I didn't register it as like something that mattered.
No, it didn't matter, but Rhea did kind of give like an expression and sort of Liv like, "What?" You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? And then that was it.
Yeah. So maybe SmackDown to address that somehow, so that way we can not for the fans that think that there's a 4-woman faction now, we can clarify that there isn't one, and that Ripley and Liv are against Banks and Naomi. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Ripley and Liv are going to win the championship at WrestleMania, but we'll see.
I don't see that. I don't see them putting that belt on Ripley again when she just had it with Nikki ASH. And I also don't see them doing that to Liv. I think that they want to. Sasha Banks is one of their biggest stars, and Naomi's one of their most talented in-ring competitors. And I think that they want their women's tag team division to be better. And I think that they want to put somebody or 2 women at the top of it that can really elevate it. And I think that Sasha and Naomi are capable of that. I don't think that Liv for Brutality or whatever they call themselves are. I mean, God love Liv Morgan. She's not very good at promos. Her in-ring work has improved dramatically. And Rhea Ripley, I think, is phenomenal. But I would much rather see Rhea Ripley get a singles push after this and go for the actual Raw Women's Championship than be messing around with the tag team. And if we have Sasha Banks, Naomi as champions, bring up other tag teams like from NXT, like Toxic Attraction, things like that, I think they can build a division with, a big main eventer at the top of it rather than anybody else, really.
Toxic Attraction comes in. They're a big time tag team. I mean, they would be immediately like a contender.
Right. I think that, and they need to get some more women's teams up here and some real ones. Eventually, break them up when they're ready. But they need to get some more tag teams up here. And I think that if they do that and having the tag team championship on Sasha Banks and on Naomi, two of their best in-ring women workers, it will only make all the other tag teams better. It will only elevate the division. You put it on Ripley and Morgan, it's just awkward. Liv Morgan can't cut a promo, and Rhea Ripley looks like a freaking dominatrix, and that's fine.
He's not pleasing to look at, in my opinion. But the reason I say that is because I looked at the odds for the matches, and it just seemed like it was quite low. Like, I thought Sasha and Naomi would be favored in that match by way more than they are. That's what I thought. But Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan were like a very close second, and that's why I thought that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's going to happen. But
all right, let's move to the KO segment, right?
Yeah. We had a big Stone Cold Steve Austin video. Hyping his whole career. It was great. The WWE production team does a fantastic job anytime they're putting together video packages.
Good.
See, our buddy here agrees with me. Rhea Ripley is better off on her own. Okay? So
there you go.
They should not win the tag belt. She needs to go on a singles run here. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the KO segment. This was pretty funny. He says it was great magic by the production truck, but nothing to give a tribute to Stone Cold Steve Austin, but nothing was like the tribute he gave him last week. A lot of people thought he was mocking him, but really it was a tribute because that's the closest thing that anybody's going to get to seeing Stone Cold Steve Austin actually enter the ring like that. Says he's been gone for 19 years. And on the KO show, it will be Steve, not Stone Cold, the man who has been drinking himself to death. Same Steve that begs people to come on his podcast and talk about the old days. He really laid into Steve here. Felt like he created legit heat with the crowd. People were really booing him hard. He said that Austin in his little golf cart and his little promo that was edited well, he's sure. He isn't going to come do anything to him tonight because he knows KO would kick his ass. He's going to come have a conversation with him about his career at WrestleMania. He warns him that if he tries to get anything funny, he's going to get a stunner. He's going to pour beer all over his lifeless carcass. And that's the bottom line because KO said so. Commentary called him delusional for this. So what do you think of KO segment here?
He's so funny. He's so good. I mean, there's nothing else to say other than he's hilarious and he's incredibly talented.
Yeah, he was really good. He was picking at anybody who's a Stone Cold fan or a fan of anything. Just the nerves he was plucking at with that stuff was great. I mean, just trashing Stone Cold left and right. You know, to a lot of people, he's their hero, and he's just putting him down like he's some old decrepit man. He's also, saying he's just coming to have a conversation. and he's acting like he's doing doing Austin a favor by having him come to WrestleMania and have his career send off on his talk show, and when really Austin's doing Kevin Owens a favor by coming out of retirement to do anything with him. So I thought that sort of contrast between what's real and what, you know, he was actually saying was good for generating heat.
Oh, it was great. And he, again, acted like he was doing him a favor, which is very funny. Very funny.
Yeah, I thought KO was great. If that match does indeed headline WrestleMania, I'm fine with that. If it doesn't, whatever. Like I said, I think one of the things that they're worried about would be we put Stone Cold Steve Austin in the middle of the show. We're going to lose people, you know, in attendance that aren't going to stay here for the women's matches. We leave Steve Austin at the end of the show. People were definitely staying here the entire show. And, you know, you don't have to, they can call it just like the KO show and call whatever match the main event. It's all just what they call things. But I think that what I've heard is that they have about 7 to 10 minutes of actual physical stuff planned. So I don't know what that entails, but hopefully it doesn't take them too long to get to their physical stuff and get out of this, because it's not like I actually want to see a talk show at 11 o'clock on WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course, but obviously it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be probably the best thing of the night in a certain way. So,
yeah, I think it'll be great. I'm excited to see it. I think KO's been outstanding. You know, how hard is it to sit there and feed a feud on your own just with a microphone? He doesn't even have Steve Austin to talk back to him there's no physical altercations happening. There's nothing but KO coming out there mocking Steve Austin, feeding off the crowd, probably ad-libbing a lot of it unscripted. You know, he's really kicking ass right now.
oh yeah, absolutely. No, this was a really fun segment, and you know, how could you not like it type of thing?
And for Kevin Owens, that's why everybody said Kevin Owens, you know, because his contract was up at the end of last year. Everybody said he should go to AEW, he should leave WWE. Kevin Owens signed a long-term contract, made a great deal of money for his family, and now he has an opportunity to do whatever with Stone Cold at WrestleMania. Nobody else gets that opportunity. I think he's pretty happy where he's at.
Yeah, I was thinking that might have been part of like the contract negotiation when Kevin Owens was re-signing. Like, we're going to give you a huge spot at WrestleMania. Huge.
Yeah, it could be. It definitely could be. I'm sure that they talked about it. I'm sure Vince was like, listen, that money's not enough. Give you a match with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Right.
And then he signed. Then he was like, oh shit, now I got to call Steve Austin and get him. But
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on, we had Theory and Ricochet in a non-title match for some reason. Theory says he's going to show McAfee what he can do and take the most stupendous selfie of his life on Sunday. So this match was pretty quick. It started off with Theory working some kicks on Ricochet into the corner. Then he hits a fall-away slam on Ricochet. Ricochet then gets a Hurricane Rana and a big knee in the corner, smashes Theory's head onto the turnbuckle, then does a beautiful springboard crossbody, then a standing moonsault, picture perfect, but only gets a near fall. Again, hits a springboard move for a 2 count. Theory goes for the ATL, but Ricochet wiggles out of that. Ricochet ends up getting on the top rope looking for a splash. Theory gets up, takes him down from the top rope, hits his ATL, gets the 1, 2, 3. So that was a fast match. It seems like they're burying Ricochet pretty bad here.
Is this match on Friday night basically Ricochet's WrestleMania match against Los Lotharios?
Yep, Ricochet will defend the IC title against both Lotharios in a triple threat.
And that's his WrestleMania match, right?
I mean, they could do something where you have Ricochet, one of the Lotharios win, and then Ricochet challenge him back for a match on Sunday, maybe,
Right.
or Ricochet wins and one of the Lotharios says that's bullshit, and they get a rematch. I mean, that's the only thing I can see happening. Other than that, he's only defending it on SmackDown, which I think is bullshit. Especially just the way that everything happened. I mean, they made Ricochet look like a complete idiot on Friday by losing a match because of interference, then telling the guy who interfered with him to come down and fight him, and not telling the other guy to stay the hell away.
Right.
So now he's in a situation where he's facing a tag team, which could just end up that the tag team goes to pin him, and then each of them are like, what the hell? I want to win, and pulling each other off of it, and then Ricochet finds somewhere to take advantage. I don't know. I'm hoping that they find something to do for him on WrestleMania. Same with Finn Balor. We didn't even see him tonight, or Damian Priest.
Yeah, weird, man. You're right.
Yeah, he says, yeah.
Well, we will see them on Friday.
Yeah, Derek says, I absolutely love Ricochet. I don't understand why they are doing him like that. I don't understand either. One thing I did hear is that he publicly complained about how they had him positioned there, but he did this before he won the IC title. But I don't think that those comments were leaked until afterwards. But it seems like ever since I read about that, he's either not on the show or he's doing stupid shit with those Lotharios and then coming out here losing to Austin Theory.
Well, they also were upset that Ricochet was complaining about Mustafa Ali not getting a spot. Like last week, he was complaining about that.
That's probably what they're doing. Somebody's pissed off at him. Or maybe he's pissed off and he's like, book me out of this shit. And then they're just booking him terribly. You can't book I mean, even if Ricochet did whatever he did to get heat with the Office, why would you book your champion to make your championship look worse? That's the kind of stuff that is annoying. It's like, okay, damn, this guy might be doing something wrong. He's our champion. Let's get the belt off him first before we make him look like shit. You know?
I think Ricochet's amazing, and I think Finn Balor's amazing.
I do too. They're two of my favorite guys. You know, they're both like smaller guys, obviously, but they're two of my favorite guys to see wrestle like on a regular show. They're two guys that should be wrestling every week, especially since they both have the US and IC titles respectively. Those belts should be on the shows every week. I mean, they're great. Ricochet's amazing. You know, I felt like part of this match, what they're trying to show with Ricochet, is he's hitting these springboard moves, these Hurricane Ranas, going up top to the top rope. And I think they're trying to show that when he goes up top, he needs to be careful because that high-risk stuff might not always pay off. Because that's how he was interfered with to lose to Angel, and then that's not how he was interfered with to lose to Humberto. But a couple of his losses have been when he goes up top and then somebody tries to get him. Somebody counters that. So I feel like that's part of the story with Ricochet. But other than that, I don't know why, just because he said he wished Mustafa Ali was in the Battle Royal or something like that, why that means that he has to lose twice on SmackDown, then come on Raw and lose in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Regardless of that, though,
yeah,
I think, yeah. No, I think maybe their plan is after WrestleMania, and this is, again, like, Ricochet's the best, and I just think maybe their plan is to enhance those belts and, like, put them on people that are more like you could see them in a main event on Raw or SmackDown. Like Kevin Owens is the new US champion. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm just giving a name as an example. and maybe Seth Rollins is the new Intercontinental champ or something like that, where they boost those belts by giving it to really key people. And it's happened before, right? The Rock's been the Intercontinental champion. The Macho Man's been the Intercontinental champion.
Yeah, I think somebody like Cody Rhodes too. Like, I think a lot of those upper card guys, they could start working them back into the mid card picture. Give me a second here.
Or like, yeah. Well, my point is, though, not making that belt a mid-card belt anymore. Like, making it something where, oh my God, this guy has that? Like, that's a big-time person. You know what I mean?
There, Brad?
Yeah, I'm here.
You're supposed to talk when I walk away.
Oh, no, I was talking. I was saying, big-time guys have that belt. It does elevate it. And there's nothing against Ricochet, but, when Finn Balor or Ricochet have the belt, it's very different from Seth Rollins or, not to say Brock Lesnar or whatever have that belt, but you know what I'm saying? Like, when you have a really big-time key player type of person having those belts, it does elevate them. Just like what Roman did for the Universal Championship, right? It was like kind of like not that important of a made it the belt.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I can't believe that Balor and Ricochet have no Mania match. I can't either. I'm sitting here waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen. Now, been waiting and waiting for something to happen with a lot of other things that happened tonight. Been waiting for Lashley to come back to face Omos. Happened. Been waiting for something better with Roman and Brock. Happened. So hopefully, in a last-ditch effort, this Friday, we see something happen in that triple threat match that results in a WrestleMania match for the IC title. And then in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, that Damian Priest and Finn Balor are the only two guys worth noting in it. If they're the two left, Damian Priest throws Balor out, wins it, and then says, because I won this, I want to face you on Sunday for the U.S. title or something. Maybe.
And that's exactly what should happen.
That's what should happen. But it's probably going to be that Priest wins it and then challenges him to the match on Raw. And then with
I don't think we're going to see Drew Gulak at the end against Finn Balor.
Yeah, they just pulled out everybody else on the roster that wasn't in anything. I guess, except for Butch and the New Day.
Butch. Yeah, Butch.
Yeah, Butch is going to be ringside for the Sheamus and Ridge Holland versus New Day, Xavier Woods, and Kofi Kingston match at WrestleMania. That's such a throwaway match.
Yeah, and that is a throwaway match. That's the worst match on the card. I mean, the Miz match is way better than that, man.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't have any. I understand they wanted to do this faction thing when Big E was there, but he's not. And just having Shane, I mean, they have to have these guys on their card, I guess, but they got to do it in the pre-show. I don't want to see that anywhere.
No, that's a terrible match.
I mean, that's a goddamn.
That's like a SmackDown mid-card SmackDown match
that I'd still take a bathroom break for.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I'd watch it, but whatever. The next segment was the biggest. And I like to hear what our commenter says. Or this was to me the most impactful segment of the entire night for sure.
Right, this was big, and I really was interested to see what they would do because, like I said, originally the run sheet said that we were going to have a tag team match. Turned into they're both going to do promos. I didn't see Becky coming out tonight. I thought Bianca was just going to say something and Becky was going to stay quiet. So Bianca comes out, said that Becky was talking about how she'd do anything she could do to win, but she found out already 2 weeks ago how low Becky would go, and she feels that her confidence threatens Becky. And Becky comes out, runs her mouth, tries to ruin her reputation, but she's the EST. She was only out for a week, but now she's back as if she had never left. This has been going on too long, ever since SummerSlam. And Becky's used every trick in the book to keep her title. Brings up all the attacks, tries to say that Becky ended her career. Asks what else Becky has. Bianca says Becky has nothing that she can do to stop her from taking her title. Then Becky's music hits. Big pop, as always. We look around for Becky. Bianca's facing the entranceway. Becky comes from under the ring again. They trade some blows. Bianca gets the best of Becky into the corner. Becky's on the ground. Then Bianca starts backing away, looking for the chair that Becky brought into the ring. But Becky gets her from behind, gets the chair, hits her low, hits her bent over, gets her on the ground. Then Becky has shears in a bag. You hear Becky say, "I'm going for your hair, Bianca." Then as she's going for Bianca's hair, she's kind of on Bianca's back. Bianca starts to stand up with Becky draped over her shoulders, slams her for a KOD, picks her up, does the KOD again. Then Bianca gets the scissors and pretty viciously grabbed Becky's head and started cutting little snippets of her hair out. You had Pearson, DeVille, and a couple other referees come out. You had referees out there the whole time, standing on the, with their hands on the apron, just saying, "No, don't do it." And it's like they waited until they cut a certain amount of hair before they actually intervened and stopped anything. But Bianca stood tall here. Lynch got her hair cut a little bit. Later, we saw her backstage saying, "Bianca, you bitch," after she looked into the mirror and saw what she looked like. It honestly didn't look like they did too much to her hair. Just so everybody knows, when they do something like this, usually, like the Becky in this situation probably wanted to have a look change anyway and cut her hair a little bit. But so when they execute it, it's not such a shame for her personal life. So, but this made me really invested in this feud.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, a couple things that were nuanced, or I think, whatever. Bianca comes out in all black. She never wears anything like that, ever. She never wears all black. She's also supposed to be a good guy, right? She's supposed to be someone that everyone loves. She's just smiles and the nicest person, and she always does the right thing she's like that type of character. And then when she does, even though she snapped and lost it, and yes, Becky instigated it, I didn't feel Bianca came across. I felt Becky came across as the sympathetic figure in this. And even though she was, like you said, in the back and she was a little unhinged and she called her a bitch and whatever, like that to me, like this whole thing was just weird. And to me, it made Becky in a different light. And it almost made Bianca like kind of like the psycho. You know what I mean? Because if you're a good guy, you're supposed to be able to control that rage to a point. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to be able to like say, "I'll be the bigger person. I'm not going to cut off her hair. I'm just going to kick her ass, and that'll be the end of it." Do you know what I mean? Like the way she would.
Right. The way a face is supposed to approach this situation is they're supposed to not do really any of the shit that Bianca's been doing. Bianca's very arrogant behind the mic. She's very full of herself. To me, she presents herself like a heel. She was a heel in NXT. To me, she's so cocky. And then she does this to Becky, which is a total heel move. A baby face doesn't cut a heel's hair. Unless it's a stipulation of a match. And
look, I understand people.
Our buddy says he didn't like Becky as a heel first, but now she's doing a great job. She is. She's doing a fantastic job as a heel. Her promo last week, when she brought the chair that she messed Bianca's neck up with into the ring, sat down on it, and said the thing about whatever she was saying about what does it cost a man to what will a man sacrifice to gain the world, or whatever the hell she was talking about. She delivered that great. And then Bianca comes out here and says, "I'm just better than you because everything's just, I'm the best. I'm greater. I'm better." If there was somebody like that lived anywhere near me, I'd be pretty fucking pissed off.
That's a great point. And Dorikas is right. He wrote, maybe I'm a little off, but it does seem that Rollins has rubbed off on her absolutely with the crazy outfits and the like. It's almost like she's become like a female Seth Rollins. And Matt and I were talking about this offline, but even Dorikas, if you notice, the music is so similar. Like Becky's is oh, and Seth's is whoa. It's the same type of chant sort of thing. They're the same. Yes, definitely rubbing off on her. But again, like, okay, I understand if Bianca in this segment had snapped a little bit and she took a little snippet of her hair and just left it in the ring and that's it. But the fact that she went back for seconds and thirds and fourths to keep cutting, and then she had basically wrestled off to continue doing even more damage in that way. It was almost, I don't want to say disturbing is not the right word, but it almost feels like they're setting it up for, if Bianca does win this match, maybe the split positions and Bianca becomes the heel, and Becky becomes again like this, the beloved figure, or maybe, Matt, what you had mentioned to me before we started talking about all this online was, I think that this match just flipped. Like, I thought there was no way Bianca's losing, and now I think Becky's winning.
Yeah, I mean, go home show before WrestleMania. We got Bianca standing tall, cutting Becky's hair. Becky looking all miserable. Either Becky's taking a break or Becky's winning this match, because they don't usually leave people in that kind of despair and then turn around and have them lose on top of it. Usually they have them in despair like that, and then that's how they make you feel like they're going to lose. You get invested in it, thinking a certain thing.
Yeah.
And,
look, man, she just kept going back for more, and it was just weird. And
that's what that's what our other buddy's saying. He went back and forth for second and thirds, and that's normally a baby face takes care of business, gets away from whatever danger they're in, and lives to fight another day. They don't just stand there and maniacal, pick up the weapon that the heel was coming at them with, and then do what the heel was going to do to them.
Right. It was almost like the Damian Priest, where he just loses it, and just can't stop. And then they eventually turned him heel. I don't know, man. There was something weird about this, and it just made me just feel very differently about Bianca. I felt like it was a character change. And interestingly enough, you see the Street Profits changing. That's Bianca's husband. Dorikas just mentioned, that Seth is rubbing off on Becky. Maybe you have the Bianca saying, hey, Montez, if you're turning heel, I'm willing to do it too. Who knows?
Well, I think everybody, these characters, men and women, are starting to get a little more mature in their wrestling career. They're starting to learn from others like Becky and Charlotte and Seth. He's been around longer than Becky and people before them, and they're starting to learn that the art of being a heel and doing all that is so much more valuable to the business than just being a babyface. And so we're seeing a lot of people evolve that way right now. But to me, Bianca's always felt like a natural heel, just the way that she conducts herself. Just the way that all the EST crap and all that. Dorikas says it's crazy how much better this feud feels over Flair versus Rousey. I totally agree. The Flair and Rousey one's almost flat. Flair's totally carried that. Rousey's been horrible on the mic.
But Rousey can't even talk.
She can't talk. Yeah, she can't talk on the mic. Flair saves every talking segment they have. They've had some pretty good physicality. We know that it's going to be a good match just for the fact that Flair's a world-class athlete and so is Rousey. But other than that, why should we care? Other than the fact that we want to see Charlotte lose. And I just wish that they could have done more with this. They didn't need to have Rousey involved with shit with Sonya Deville. They needed to get Rousey out of this drowsy. It's like she took a whole thing of NyQuil and then went out there and tried to cut a promo every week. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, she really blows, man. I wish she didn't come back. I mean, you would have had Sasha versus Charlotte here. That's what you would have had.
I know.
It's terrible. The fact that Sasha's in like 4-way tag team matches against Carmella
and I don't get people got. I mean, because I've been in the building when Ronda's music goes on. I see what happened. People go crazy when her music goes on, but nobody gives a fuck about what she says. Nobody cheers for anything she says or whatever. And to be honest with you, people get more excited when she gets put through a table than anything else. So I don't understand the logic behind let's bring her in because she's a better draw for Mania to do this. Fuck that. She's
it just shows you
draw than Sasha, and her and Flair are not a better draw than her and Becky. And now we're gonna have to deal with Ronda Rousey here through next WrestleMania so she can face Becky.
Really annoying, man. Really annoying, and it just shows you the impact of the music, because when you hear that music, the beginning of Ronda Rousey's song, it's like, oh shit, this is gonna be cool, and then you remember oh, it's Ronda Rousey, but it's the music. Like the music is such a big impact, So it's one of the reasons I think Austin Theory needs new music. I think it's one of the reasons why the Boogs Nakamura thing is taken off so much. I really, really believe, and Boogs is incredible, but I think that one of the reasons why he has taken off so much is because of that theme music and that entrance music that everyone just loves, and Pat McAfee going fuck wild to it. Not to get off the topic, but it's just a big deal, and that's why people go nuts when Ronda Rousey's music hits. It's just good. It's just good music.
I don't know. Boogs and Nakamura are over like Rover. They're white hot.
Yeah, Boogs is about as popular as almost anyone on the roster. Let's be honest. I mean, you're right. I mean,
at least his entrances. I don't know that everybody wants to see him just
in the
destroying
ring.
Everybody right now, and he is a little bit green in the ring. It seems like all he ever does is gorilla press people and stuff like that. But whatever. They like him a lot. He looks great. He's got the charisma. He's got it all. They should have him take the tag belts from the Usos and do something with them.
Look, they're doing Toyota Tundra commercials or whatever truck that is. This is not like a team of irrelevant guys here. You know what I mean? So,
and let me ask you something about these commercials, and we'll get to Corbin in a second and Madcap, but we got a shoosh commercial. Oh, it's a Snickers commercial with a lot of shooshing with the Alpha Academy. We got the Toyota commercial with Shinsuke and Boogs. And then we have another Snickers commercial with Corbin and Madcap, where Madcap doesn't realize anything's funny unless he eats a Snickers. Of those three pairs that are in commercials together, who do you think is going to break up soonest? Or would they put a tag team in a commercial that's going to break up soon?
There's no question. It's Madcap and Corbin. No question. Because Madcap, you've seen it 3 or 4 weeks in a row. The announcers are now pointing it out. The jokes aren't working with Happy Corbin. And, tonight's joke was just straight up insulting Corbin. It was, what do you do when you get hit with a claymore? You say it kilt,
Right.
Which funny, but obviously the whole thing is leading up. I would not be at all surprised if that Corbin match ends with Madcap somehow helping McIntyre. Like, I would not be at all surprised if that's the way that match ends.
I mean, that'd be quite the turn of events after what he did to him in the Elimination Chamber, and then after he kicked his ass tonight. I mean, it seems like every week Madcap's taking a beating from McIntyre.
Yeah, but there might be, some weird angle where Corbin kind of tells him to shut up and you just listen to me and shut up and no more jokes. And he's like, screw it.
I'm so glad that I didn't have to hear anybody every time a SmackDown star came out say, why is this guy on Raw? What the fuck? The brand split, the brand split. Who cares? When I saw Drew McIntyre came out, when I heard the sword thing, I turned and looked at my TV and was like, wait a minute. is this SmackDown or Raw? Is this a recap? What the hell is going on?
I know it felt that part did feel very SmackDownish. I know what you mean, even more than anything else.
Because his screen's blue and everything.
Blue, exactly. The screen was blue. That's why.
He's
exactly.
on every freaking episode. But
And Matt, I'm gonna let you ride this rest of the show out, man.
All right, Brad. Thanks for coming with us tonight, man.
Great time, man. Thank you, bro.
All right,
I'll be
listening,
buddy. Bye.
All right. So anyway, yeah, we saw that feud with Bianca and Becky really take a more interesting turn. Becky's pretty pissed off about what happened to her hair. I was pretty excited to see Bianca's braid get cut off because if we all remember correctly, she did the same damn thing to Sasha Banks last year when she won the title at WrestleMania. She left Sasha with marks all over her stomach from that braid, and I think it should be cut off. I think originally they should have did this the other way around. Becky should have came back as a face. Bianca should have been a heel. You know, Becky takes the title from her at SummerSlam as a face. Bianca turns heel because of it. And then they go on their way and eventually have this WrestleMania feud. I understand why they did what they did. They wanted to have Becky as a heel. Becky wanted to be heel. Having her as a heel helps her build other stars like Liv Morgan, like Bianca Belair, like Doudrop, even though Doudrop's a heel. So I get everything, but I would have preferred it personally if it were the other way around, just because Bianca just seems so self-centered, so vindictive sometimes, going back there again. And just, it's one thing she looks at the scissors and picks them up and she's like, no, that's not the right thing to do. The baby face is supposed to do the right thing. And I understand that, we're in a day and age when people cheer everything. Even Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was cheered for kicking his ball, stunning his boss and drinking beer. But I just feel like Bianca Belair is that arrogant heel, and Becky can play anything, so she should be the face here. And what we saw tonight was definitely some heel actions, but regardless, it really brought this feud to a whole nother level. It's at that top level where you want to see them fight, regardless of who you are behind in this match. We want to see it finally blow off. And so we're going to see that this week. I'm excited for that. And I'm excited. I'm glad that they did what they did tonight. I'm glad that just because they had to cut out a tag team match, they didn't just totally not use these two women. I'm glad that they used them to their advantage. Had Bianca say something, had Becky come out and did this stuff with the hair. Becky's great sport about having her hair cut. I thought this was fantastic. So later, we see Edge backstage. Says he had a choice. He had a choice to hit Rollins with a chair and then beat him at WrestleMania, or let fate take its course. He wants to take fate into his own hands, and it's serendipity. It has to be AJ. He needed to hit him with the chair so he could face him. He says he's the benchmark of the WWE. He keeps growing, will continue, but AJ won't after this match. They'll face off for the first time ever after running parallel. And he saw that look in AJ's eyes last Monday, and he knows that this Sunday will be AJ's judgment day, and his judgment is sealed. It's very dark back there with Edge. Edge looks very vile, deranged, playing this heel character very well. Most guys obviously play heels better, but Edge really does the promo well. He really gets you to buy that he's just maniacal about this stuff. I could do without some of the vocabulary words that he uses. It's not AP English class all the time, but there is something to being that witty villain. So I do kind of like what he's doing there. And then we get AJ, a little bit simpler. He says Edge used a lot of words to justify a cheap shot, but if his goal was to get into his head, he's done it. And all AJ could think about is destroying Edge. So basically, Edge cuts this real long, maniacal, vocabulary word-filled promo about this program, about how he wants to kick AJ's ass, and AJ's just like, Jesus Christ, this guy's crazy. Just because because he's turned crazy on me, I want to kick his ass too. And to me, you could have just said Edge, AJ Styles, and they could have not talked, not done anything, and that match could just be scheduled, and I would be looking forward to it, and I know it would be great. But I think that they're doing a good job of establishing Edge as, a guy that'll go crazy, do anything as a heel, and keeping AJ as a strong baby face in this situation without burying either one of them. Finally, we get to our main event here. Main event tonight, RK Bro versus the Usos. Before they come out, we get Boogs do the entrance. Huge baby face reaction. This is so over. Almost as over as RK Bro. I'm not really sure which one's more over. So he says, my name's Rick. Everybody says Boogs. We're the soon-to-be tag team champions. They do their entrance. They're on commentary. Then we have the Usos enter. Then we have RK Bro enter. So RK Bro enters to a huge pop. They're probably more over than Boogs, like I said. Orton starts out with Jimmy. They're trading blows. Orton gets the early advantage, drops Jimmy, tags in Riddle, then does the tag team work where he picks up Riddle, does a step up, flip splash. Jimmy and Jay then step into the ring and go for stereo super kicks. Orton and Riddle block them. Then they go for RKOs, but they get blocked. They get pushed into the ropes. Usos back out of the ring near the commentary table. Boogs stands up with his guitar. Usos get a little distracted by this. Orton and Riddle take advantage of that. Take turns back suplexing each of the Usos onto the announce table, and we roll into a commercial. Riddle and Orton are firing up the crowd. They got a big reaction after slamming them on the table. Return from the commercial, we have Orton and Riddle working on Jimmy. Riddle hits a knee, then an exploder suplex. Jimmy tags in Jay. Riddle hits a springboard forearm, then a suplex, but only gets 2. Jay then gets in control of the match, hits a Samoan drop on a running Riddle, then goes for a pinfall, but only gets 2. Usos then isolate Riddle in their corner. They start beating him down, taking a lot of damage as Riddle here. Usos are stomping away at him. At one point, they had him strangled on the second rope while Jay was beating him on the inside, and Jimmy dropped an elbow on him from the apron. Orton's getting pissed that he can't get into the match at this point. Riddle's crawling for the hot tag, crawling over to Orton, trying to get there, but Jay stops him. Riddle fights back, but Jay sends him back to the corner, tags Jimmy. They continue to work on him. Jay slows down the match with a rear chin lock. Jimmy then jumps in the ring and hits a stomp on Riddle. Riddle starts fighting back, starts striking at Jimmy, but then Jimmy hits him from the outside. Jay hits him from the inside of the ring. He sends him over the top rope to the ringside area. Jimmy then grabs him and throws him over into the timekeeper's area, and we go to another commercial. So they double teamed him there in the corner. One of them was in the ring, one of them was out of the ring. Got him out of the ring, threw him into the timekeeper's area. We come back with Riddle reaching for a hot tag, but Jay doesn't allow him, hits a modified net breaker. Jay taunts, and then Jay taunts him, and then Riddle runs at him, gets a knee in the corner. Riddle finally gets the hot tag to Orton. Jay tags Jimmy. Orton comes in and hits some strikes. Misses a snap body slam, which was weird. It looks like he was all set up to do it, and then they held the rope so he didn't rebound into him. Jimmy, that is. Jimmy didn't come at him. Missed the snap body slam, but then when Jimmy did come at him, he hit the snap body slam, went for a draping DDT, but he got rolled up by Jay for 1. Then he hit a snap body slam on Jay, tried the draping DDT on Jimmy. No, he was trying the draping DDT on Jay, but Jimmy broke that up. Riddle came off the apron with a running knee. Then he did hit the draping DDT. Orton then he starts Viper up. And right as he's Vipering up, I really wish the producer wouldn't have had the camera on that was facing the entrance, because you see him hitting the ground with his knuckles right after He does a draping DDT on Jay. He's getting ready for the RKO, and you can see up the entrance Montez Ford running in. And if they just would have had it on the hard cam or any other angle, we wouldn't have seen the interference blatantly happen. If they would have been cropped in close on Orton or cropped in close on a fallen Uso, would have been so much better than us seeing Randy banging on the ground with his fists, and then we see Montez Ford come in. So they come in, they DQ the match. You could see this coming from a mile away. They weren't going to beat either one of their champions going into WrestleMania. They weren't going to make one champion look better than the other. They were going to let them have a back and forth match and then have one of the feuding parties interfere. That's exactly what happened. Street Profits come in there, they lay Orton out, go for a splash, but Riddle RKO's Dawkins. Then they RKO. Ford jumps over Orton to avoid Riddle, and then they double team for an RKO on Ford. RK Bro stands tall here. Now, when the interference happened, Street Profits come in, interfere, ruin the match, bell rings. They start isolating on Orton. Riddle's getting beat up, and then Riddle's getting beat up by the Usos. And all of a sudden, Nakamura and Boogs come in. They start beating up the Usos. Boogs picks up Jay. Gorilla Press slams him onto the top rope. Does his flex and pumping thing. Does a couple reps there. So they let all the teams kind of show something off. But I just thought it was pretty nice that the Street Profits did this run-in and ruined the match. And the other thing I want to know before I get into this is that originally on the card it was supposed to be Street Profits versus Alpha Academy tonight, but for whatever reason that match got scrapped. So that match got scrapped, a tag match between Becky and Charlotte on the same team versus Ronda Rousey and Bianca Belair was supposed to happen. That did not happen. And instead we got the promos. We did not get a Street Profits and Alpha Academy match. The McIntyre match, the Omos match, those were not on the initial run sheet, so they did a lot of changing this show around. I liked Lashley returning. But anyway, Street Profits come in, lay out Orton. Usos are going after Riddle. Then they get the RKO on Dawkins, and Orton's just laying on the ground. Ford's up there trying to hit his nice frog splash, the beautiful frog splash that he does. It sees Riddle coming. So he jumps over him. So Riddle can't hit a midair RKO, which is something I know that they're planning for their match at WrestleMania. There's going to be a big either frog splash or a Superman spot that Ford's going to do. And we're going to see a midair RKO either off of a splash or off of one of those planches over into the front. I've seen them do that in this same match at house shows. I don't know why they wouldn't do it at WrestleMania. It's an amazing spot. We'll probably see another Tower of Doom spot like we did the last time we had the triple threat for the titles on Raw. But anyway, Ford goes for the frog splash. He ends up jumping over Orton. Orton stands up, lifts him up. Riddle hits the RKO. Then they go and hit both of them with RKOs again and stand tall as we go off the air. So I don't know. Having RK Bro standing tall like this on the Go Home show kind of makes it look like they may not win because it's always kind of they show that it's always the other one that sort of wins. But they're so over right now, and so many people have called for a Riddle and Orton split, and it hasn't happened yet. And I think there's a reason for that. I wouldn't be surprised if RK Bro retains at WrestleMania. If they don't, then I think it's possible the Alpha Academy would win. I don't see the Street Profits winning, but who the hell knows? They just haven't been featured very much. I think we didn't need to see them face Alpha Academy tonight, but it would have been nice to see them do something else. But who knows? Maybe they get their comeuppance for the extra RKOs tonight and win the tag belts at Mania. Who knows? I just know it's going to be a fantastic match. I've seen these three teams at house shows several times. do a triple threat tag match for the titles. And the spots they do are great. They always work in the Tower of Doom. They always work in the spot where they throw everybody out front and somebody does a Superman over the top. I think it's going to be great. This is going to be the last question. I'm going to get ready to wrap up here. I'll be back on tomorrow with a show for you guys. And then I'll actually have a show every single day from here on out, and a show after every live event. You can find me on any podcast medium, Beyond the Mat. Also on Twitter at Beyond Mat WWE. My email is beyondthematwwe@gmail.com. Please like this video, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. And our last question here is, he's very surprised that RK Bro is still together. I think a lot of people are. But I think at the end of the day, when something works, you don't want to let it go until you have to. Now, sometimes if something just keeps getting better and better and better and better, you want to break it up when it gets to its peak. And it just keeps getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And people like it more and more and more. Randy Orton likes it more and more and more. And it's working. And when they get to that point where they peak, they'll split. But they haven't done it yet, because let's just say they had split 2 months ago. Then Randy Orton never would have had that moment where he's in the ring with Riddle and saying, he's my friend, and I've never called somebody a friend, and all this stuff. And I think those moments need to happen, and we really need these two to really bond closely before they turn, because the closer bond that they make, the better friends they are, the better the feud's going to be when one of them turns on the other. It's like Vince always had said, and when you're making a heel or a baby face, the bigger you can make somebody a baby face, the bigger the heel they're going to be someday. The more you love somebody and the more you're invested in somebody, when they turn on you and you hate them, it's all the more painful. So in this case, I agree. I'm very surprised RK Bro is still together too. Who knows? They could break up at WrestleMania in less than a week. But I think that the reason why we see them stay together is that crowd response, the merchandise, and just themselves. The trajectory is continuing to go up. They haven't plateaued. They haven't dipped. If they're going to continue to go up, keep riding it. Keep riding that rocket ship till you get to the top. And if at any point starts to feel like it's getting too hot, you bust it apart, and then you have a really hot feud. With that, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to get out of here. Had a really good time talking about Raw tonight. I'm real excited for WrestleMania. Not going to have 2-hour shows coming out every single day, but I will have something every day, at least on the podcast feed, if not on video. I'd like to thank Brad for joining me as well. And anybody who's in the chat asking questions, you also contribute to the show. Like I say, please follow me on Twitter. Please follow our channel here and our podcast channel, Beyond the Mat. We're releasing news and recaps every single day. Sometimes breaking news, sometimes different stuff. I'll have watch-alongs. I'll have we'll look back at some retro stuff as well. Right now, we're mostly focused on WrestleMania. I have a lot of other things planned too. But until then, catch you guys later. Have a great night. Thanks for joining me.